have access to the website. I put this all in Google Sites, and hopefully you'll find it useful and helpful to go back and access the information. I will just briefly, in case you're unfamiliar, I do have the tabs located at the top of the page where it says Home in the upper right hand corner, Maps in the curriculum, Google My Maps, and some map activities. A lot of the session, maybe the first 15, 20 minutes, will be more of me talking with a little interaction, but it is a small group. Please feel free to stop me to say, hey, Cindy, um, let me ask questions. And I'm going to ask questions of you all. So if you want to get off mute and answer vocally, you may do so. If you want to add them in the chat, feel free to do that as well. I am very flexible. And if you hadn't read, I'm a former high school teacher. I taught US history. The last few years that I was in the classroom, it was a one-to-one environment. So that was really nice. I did a lot with maps, more of a Google Earth back then than Google My Maps. But I love maps. So I'm very excited that you're here and that I can share my love and joy and passion for maps with you all this afternoon. So as you can see, if you've had a chance to go ahead and let me know a little bit about yourself so I know who's in the room, and again, try to focus some of this information into your role. And like I said, just ask questions, stop. So I'm going to go ahead and click over into Maps in the curriculum. And why maps? And many of you, it looked like you're instructional designers, is I believe that they truly enhance the curriculum, especially with students given that visual understanding and movement. I saw it with my own students, just really building their critical thinking skills. Many students think, a map's on your phone, so they don't really understand the whole paper. For a while, even when I was teaching world geography, I literally had one wall full of paper maps and like, what is this? And this was even before smartphones, but students weren't all that familiar with maps. What I really like about Google My Maps, and especially in our environment now, but even when I was teaching in a one-to-one environment before pandemic, what I like about it is that you can use them synchronously and asynchronously. And so in designing your curriculum, you can use them. Like I said, it just allows such flexibility in how you want to do that. And it really does support a large variety of content areas involved. So, and my other thing too is it really does engage the learner. It kind of builds that relevancy, like where is that event happening? As I mentioned, I taught US history, but I was all about current events. And so we always knew where the current events were happening. The last year I taught, it was the Boston Marathon bombing. And the day before, my students knew I had a friend running in it, and they wanted me to call her the next day. They had not heard of the Boston Marathon prior to that day. And for them that bombing to happen the following day, they were understanding and they wanted to know, where does Boston related to Houston and all of that. So they wanted to know right away. Finding out where things are and where it is in relation to the learner, it really helps stimulate their curiosity. They encourage exploration, like, oh, we didn't know Canada was so close to Boston. I mean, it was just amazing what I found. And I was one of those teachers before that would have a globe in my room and maps long before we went digital. But again, adding that collaboration aspect in Google My Maps is just really, really helpful. You can have students working together as a pair, as small groups, sharing their individual, like we're going to be doing. So we're going to be going through some of these engaging the learner activities ourselves today. It just really empowers the learner as well. Again, really bringing back to that visual learning tool to support what else they're listening to or being a part of. And then what I noticed with my own students is when they started building their own maps and creating and telling their own story through the map, and really I had a student who took maps. I mean, they were a cartographer at heart, apparently. And just really what all they can do with that. They help explain an event and just see, where things are. So a little bit of ideas, just kind of what I found in my classroom. Again, it was a secondary classroom, but I know some of it would definitely relate into higher ed as well. Like I said, taking note taking and English, learning about a story if they're reading, especially so you have all of that information. So I just again love the collaboration aspect. I always just keep going back to that because it's just so interesting. So, but introducing maps again, we are so used to seeing phones, and so many students nowadays, that's all they probably know of them and how they are used and why they are important. So it is important to just take the time to introduce maps to your students. And so, just kind of in this quick little overview that we've already had, go ahead in the chat and how it relates to you and what you are, and where do you think maps could work in your content. We're just kind of brainstorming right now. Let's take just a couple of minutes and think about it, because my favorite thing is when we used to meet live, I would always say, the smartest person in the room is the room itself. It's the collaboration of ideas. I love brainstorming with students um, and hear about their perspective, and someone that then you can play off that person's idea. So anyway, so great. Thank you, Mary, for coming in. Oh, yep. If you're working with workshops. So as just a reminder, you can take yourself off mute if you want to just share where you're kind of thinking. Like if you're teaching business and you need to know the supply chain, how do products get from one side of the country to the other, you know, um, or whatever you're working with. So if you want to add in there, oh, perfect. Great. So you're already working with designing an online experience for students. Excellent. Tracing the history of psychology in the US. Absolutely wonderful. Oh my goodness. Literature. Absolutely. Focusing on settings. I was going to even do a Jack Kerouac on the road map across, or I thought about a Route 66 map for this session. There's just so many different ways to use it. Absolutely. Climate change, the sea rise, polar ice, put the glaciers in there. Excellent. Well, y'all are going to have some time to start working on this as well. Oh, presidential libraries, national parks. Awesome. So excellent. Wow. We have a very creative room already, and it's a Friday afternoon. So I really appreciate you all sharing so much and so many wonderful ideas, especially if you are in the K-12. I do have quite a few resources that way, but I do have resources again for introductory to maps and at the higher ed level as well. Um, and I did want to point out that there are two different videos called um, Why All World Maps Are Wrong. And you can see it here at the bottom. It is the same title as the one of the TED Ed video, which is a lot of fun, but they are two different videos. So if you want to come back and use any of these resources, if you're wanting to introduce maps to your students, they're here for you to do so. All right, so we have spent kind of a few minutes talking about maps. All right, wow, you already have maps. Cool. On climate change. Excellent. So see, that's why I said this is always so fun to look in the chat. There's always someone there that can offer you some great resources. I have found that lately in the past year of the chat, I'm learning, it seems like, just as much in the chat from others, my fellow participants, as I am just the person providing the presentation. So it is really nice, and I'm glad to see everyone working through that. All right, so now I'm going to go to Google My Maps. And as I mentioned, if you came in late, you might not have heard me. I did talk about how this is really going to be a hands-on session. And so really with these next two tabs is going to go in that direction a great deal. So I'm not, one of the things that I found, and I don't know why this is going slow. It was going slow and I closed everything, and it was going fast when I first came in. I think because the 6-word stories is a very large file. And this is how I felt. This is how I was introduced to Google My Maps in a session a while back with the 6-word stories. The famous uh, one from, if you want to click on that, talks a little bit about 6-word stories. If not, if you want to follow along, you can click the X. I already had opened this and have it available on my window here. But the first one is that famous Ernest Hemingway story, that you couldn't write a story in 6 words, and he did. And then this is where it was located, where he, for sale baby shoes never worn. So just in those 6 words, it tells a very emotional story. And so he won the bet. So you can see that. So you can see different things. So what I liked about this is it did provide an idea of what you can do with maps besides being for social studies and location and everything else. But where was that story told? But this is a open source. There's 1,500 people have added different things. So this, like I said, this is what was used to introduce me, and I really liked it. So I thought I would steal it, because that's what we do when we see a good thing. We use it in our own way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that though. And I do have our session map, and I put the link here. It wasn't, I ended up having to just take a screenshot of that for some reason. It was being silly. So I do have the link there if you just want to look at it. If you have already peeked below, we are going to have a lot of practice time sharing. So I'm just going to go over a few little things right now. And if you've noticed, I have some timers on this page. So after we get in this map, or if you want to even start your own, you may do so at this time. And I just started this one. All I did here was I have the title. So you will be asked, if you're starting now, or start with untitled. And then you can hear a description, practice during session. And click there. The other thing, like I said, I keep going back to the collaborative, and what I always have you do, and if you'll notice in there, is when I'm going to let you go through it on your own, is setting the sharing sessions. So right now I have it that anyone can view. So I actually need to change that. Oh, copy link. I need to change because I need you to edit. So I did that purposefully so I can show you what to do to make sure not only can you watch, do you want to see it, but if you want to participate in here as well. The other thing to do is you can also import. So if I click on import, I can now go to my Google Drive, and I have select, and I can bring your name. Oh, and this is the wrong thing, but okay. And I'm going to just go ahead and continue. Finish. And it will bring names and information into your map where you don't even have to add. So I obviously grabbed not this session's document in here, but you can see how easy that brought information into my document. The other way you can find things besides adding it to for yourself is you can say, okay, I want to University of Colorado Boulder. So you can click there and it will take you to University of Colorado Boulder where you're asking. So it shows a marker for you, but I want to go ahead and add the marker there myself. But what I can do here, oh, and I'm still in this, let me get back into the new, I get so excited sometimes. I'm going to add a layer. And that's the other thing you can do is add a layer. And that's another thing what we could do. You could also have with students is assign them a layer as well. And so I'm going to have the layer. More practice. Or you can do it by name. All right, so I'm here in Boulder right here. So what I can do, and I want to eliminate, I don't want directions here. I want to add a picture. And I can either, if I had been to University of Colorado Boulder, I could use my own poll, or I can look, search right here into, so buffaloes. Ah, so if I want to, and then hit save. So I have that information and I can then come through here and title it where I applied to school. I actually did apply here where I applied to college or whatever you want to call for that. And then you can change the map. Maybe you want to change it. And you would click on the base map if you want it to look a little bit different, if you want to go. And so wherever you're needing to have, if you want to go somewhere, you can measure it. So I saw someone doing math in there. It's not stale. Thank you, Mary. It's not stealing, it's sharing. So you can measure distances. You can draw a line from location. We can add another marker. So there's just so much you can do. And the best way to do it is to work on it on your own. I've added some ideas for you to start. You can add the title. And again, like I talked about, adding the sharing, adding the sharing setting, and all of this information. So I am going to give you about 10 minutes to go through there. And here is the timer. And you can get off mute. You can add a question. Perfect. How do you determine which layers you include? Very good. So that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead and click that so I stay focused on the 10-minute timer. But for you in the chat about how do you determine what the layers you add include, it is up to you to decide to do that. Many times, if it's just the map I'm creating, and you'll see that when we go into some other map activities after this one, I've stayed on one layer. A lot of times, so in US history, if I wanted to show change over time, I would make a different layer. Or if I wanted students to work either in group or all individuals and have 30 different students working on the map at the same time, I would give them a layer. So that's how I would use that. I hope that's helpful. So like I said, it's the best thing to do is just dig in and explore.
Hello, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
I'm from St. Croix, and I'm working with some children who are from New York, and I'm from New York. So we're trying to do 60-second like documentaries on the Bronx.
Oh, fun.
And I was wondering how we could work with the Google Maps, but then kind of include that in the documentary. Is that any way possible? Copying something, I don't know if I'm asking the right.
Well, you could if you wanted to do a map. You could do that and show how I would create the map and have all of them start it, put it on there, and then just do a quick screencast of it and put it in there. Like, this is where we are, and you can see all of the dots. What I would even do, if you want to just put it like a Google form, very similar to what I had here, and bring it in, would be good for that.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you. That's excellent. I just actually went to an ISTE session earlier this week on a 60-second documentary.
I was there too.
Oh, how fun.
Trying to get as much good information as possible.
I know, exactly. He was a wonderful presenter.
Yes.
I did notice a few of you just getting into the session, so welcome. We are working on hands-on time in the session, so I'm going to go ahead and for those of you that just joined, I'm going to put a link to this Google site that has all of the information, has the session information in it. We are on the tab of Google My Maps, but if you want to go through and look at the different resources that I've put in for like maps and why you would want to include maps in the curriculum, feel free to do so. My contact information is on the front page. So I'm glad that y'all are all here on this Friday afternoon. I guess it would also be nice of me if to show you where on the maps we are. We just are in the Google My Maps. And we talked about 6-word stories. And this was a crowdsourced document to show you how many people can get in on a map. There was like 1,500 people in there. And then we have a session map to go through. But then now what everyone is doing, for those of you that just joined, they're working on their own. And I have put screenshots to help you find and do all of that information right there. And we're down to a little bit less than 5 minutes. If you're going to need more time, that's fine. Like I said, the rest of the session is going to be different choice activities that you might want to learn more about. And if you need something to do, you can actually get a head start on the share your favorite place or go into some of the map activities on the next page, on the next tab.
You could really spend some time in here doing this, couldn't you?
Yes, yes, that's why I'm putting a timer. And y'all probably thought 10 minutes at the beginning, you're like, oh, that is awfully long, but it really isn't. Just to explore and click on everything and change the color of your pen and adding pictures, adding videos, so many things to do. And practice bringing in the file. And that's something for the teacher that's bringing their students in from New York. It would be kind of a neat thing just to do that, have them put their address down or a address, maybe at their school, different places in New York that they like.
Can you explain the add a layer? What?
Add a layer. Okay. Yes. All right. So actually, I closed what I'm just going to go into a map, start it again. All right. So add a layer example. All right, so I'm going to click save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this and have you add a layer too. So we're going to do the hands-on. So let me switch this. New one with a link. I want you to be an editor. All right. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start on the untitled layer, and I'll say Cyndy. And so this is my layer. And so I can, I'm going to go to Houston here. I'm going to just add, I was born in Houston, so. Good grief. 0.1, and I'm going to just say Houston. Birthplace. Okay. Oh, doesn't matter. All right. So I'm just going to close that. So what you could do is if you come in here, and I don't know, you can say a different name, but you would click on add a layer. And I'm just going to say Mark, my husband's name, and he was, let's see. Oh. So now I'm on a different layer, so I can either show all of them, and I can say Mark Shreveport or whatever.
Cyndy, are layers the same in here as they are like in Photoshop? So you're not walking on top of each other, right? It's
correct.
The layer is on
The
top of each
best
other.
I have found, yes.
So students could work together without overriding each other's work.
Absolutely, yes. So you could see everybody, and so then if I don't want to, so you can see where I am in Houston.
But
I
then
hope
you could
everyone's
hide
okay
the
with that
layers by
alarm.
unchecking their name.
Yes, so I have them both right here. And then you can even go in, that's why I wanted to tell you, if you delete a layer, if you go, oh no, I did two, there's two Cyndys in there, and I did both of them forgetting I had already done it once. I can delete a layer, or you don't even just show it. So you don't see that he's in Shreveport anymore. You just have the Houston one. And then, oh, I didn't even, so if you wanted to practice, so my share, I forgot to add it to I started talking, and then I think I copied the link and I just didn't.
Is there a limit to how many layers you can have?
I have had up to 30 and it was fine. So, but that's not, so that's all I know. Well, we could do more because that one that we just saw, the six-word story one, had more of that. Oh, okay. Here's the link, and I forgot to click share. There you go. Sorry. So you can come in and add to this, into this map if y'all want to practice that. Oh, I think that noise, I was thinking it was someone's, it was my timer. Here I had that so I would stay focused on staying in a timely way, and I ignored my own alarm. So anyway, I apologize.
Well, it looks like you're getting a little empathy there.
Yes, absolutely. Just what I need, or maybe a clear mind, one or the other. So you can continue what you're doing, or you can start a new map and share your favorite place. Many of you had some great destinations listed. Like I said, I brought in the wrong form to see where we could have everyone bring in their favorite place. But you could actually do that on the map I just added, and add your favorite place. It doesn't have to be a location. It could be your favorite, where you find your favorite restaurant, or your favorite house you've ever been to, or whatever. It doesn't I just don't want you to feel limited. And then you could just add a layer. We got a little ahead of ourselves. I always do that in session. Adding that. So we have someone else just joining us. All right, welcome to the person that just joined. Here is the link to the presentation, which is a Google site. And right now, and I have to say welcome, Dina, because we were in the same group yesterday in one of the sessions. So I'm glad that you're here. I just posted the link to the presentation, which is in the chat. It is a Google site, and we are on the third tab, Google My Maps, at the bottom. So I'm hoping you can catch up. And I'm already looking at time, and and I forgot to click the 5. So in about 2 minutes, I'm going to move over to map activities, talk about them, and then we'll have the remaining time to look at those in depth, or if you want to come back and finish what you're doing on this page. It's whatever works best for you. All right, I have to call out, someone is from Houston, or where they work in Houston. So in K-12, I'm just curious which district, if you don't mind, since I taught in Cy-Fair. I'd be curious to know which district. Oh, thank you, Mary. It is a great way. And again, I love how students can collaborate, and it can be asynchronously. You know, whenever they get to this part, they can add their information, so they don't have to do it at the same time. All right, 1 more minute, and I'm gonna move over to map activities. I'm gonna pop in and see if, and add the layer. If anyone has added where their favorite place is. I think you're all on your own puzzle, on your own map.
Cindy, what is the under layer? There's options for individual styles. If I click on that, and then there's group places by.
I don't even see where you are on this.
Okay. Do you see where, do you go back to your map? I just saw it.
Okay.
And then.
Oh, wait, not this one.
Yeah, where it says individual styles under content tour. Do you see that
yes.
with the roller brush?
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
I have customized these with the links when I went to this, which is I was ahead of myself. I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into map activities. If you're still working on finding your favorite place, if you're just still looking around and exploring on your own, that is perfectly fine. That's the beauty of this, where you can do work where works best for you. I am a vacation freak. I love it so much. So I had to think about, where to go. And I loved it when he brought out his computer. Yes, very much so. Thank you, Mary. So on our time, I'm not going to play it now, but this is when he brings out the map on the computer and he puts it on the TV and the kids use it as Pac-Man. So just one of those fun scenes. But what else you can do with a map is I have built a digital breakout that is, you can go visit some museums in California and go through there, and you can see how I've changed that into those individual styles on that particular map. And so you can go through here, and then like I said, a corresponding breakout for that. The content tour, and this is the map right here, but I also showed that you can actually have a quiz with it. So I made it very simple quiz, but let's go into this map. I'll come right back to this, I promise. So I just want to show you some other things in case someone else wants to do something else. Here's just a scavenger hunt idea, just to practice again some different things that you're doing. And then again, the same person that I took the 6-word story from also had a map for networking. So if you want to stay connected with the people that you're in your session with, you can do that. So I'm going to go back into that content map, and then you'll be able to see what I did differently. So I am starting here. And so what I did with this on this particular layer is I just called it the content tour. We could add a different layer and it would be, you can see it doesn't have that individual styles, but I came through each one, and you'll see that I used a different icon at each location. I have you starting here at Aurora, because I also put the form, you can see where I've included the form in here to see where you can go. Otherwise, it doesn't matter where you go. You can do the quiz with it, or you don't have to. So if you go into Rocky Mountain National Park, you can see that I've added a picture. This is what I don't like about this. So you can see that I've added a picture. Now, I don't know, someone else is moving this because I'm not. So you can see different places that I've added. And so I've gone in and added a different resource. I've, like for Dodger Stadium, I have a baseball. So you can go through and do different items. And so it shows you that it's an individual, it's not the same style that you would need to have throughout each thing. I just wanted to do something different. And with Western Erie Canal, you can go to, I even put a video of Bruce Springsteen singing the song Erie Canal, which has nothing to do with a quiz. So if you want to learn more about that, you can do that here about the canals that corresponds to the question. You can do that, and you can listen to the boss sing Erie Canal while you're doing so. So you can just see different things that you can add content and then use it as an assessment as well. This also works well with the breakout if you learn from each one and you want to use that, but it's more of a breakout format as opposed to a quiz format. But the quiz format will give you the grade. So I just wanted to show you different ways in which to use the maps for an assessment. All right, Mary, it sounds like you're having a great time with the Google My Maps, so that's awesome. Yes, bringing that interactivity to geography is just fabulous. So I could have even put like I said, I use this with my students. I did a Google Earth map with them on the Spanish-American War, and they actually saw a Thomas Edison video of the Maine sinking in Havana Harbor, and then they did sheet music in New York and the headlines of Pulitzer, and so they went all over the world and to the Philippines and to Spain, and when the treaty was signed in Paris. And so you can do so many different things at each location, bring in those primary documents, bring in additional content. So it's really, you're limited only by your creativity. All right, so we have about 9 more minutes, and I'm here for any questions. I'm going to just let y'all explore because that's the best way to learn, and I'll be happy to help you.
Cyndy, I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit different than everybody else, I think, but I don't teach in a university or a high school or anything like that. But I do more like environmental ed type stuff.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm thinking this would be a great tool to use for like pointing out places to see for our visitors.
Absolutely.
Is there a way to link this, I guess, or I know it's part of Google Maps, but like I want to show, say, Dodger Stadium, because that's in my head. And I want to help people get there. Is there a link it to like the directions from Google Maps or anything like that?
Yes, you can actually do that. And I don't want to do this map. Let's see. When you first go into, if I say Dodger Stadium, and it will go there, it will tell you where it is and it will bring you the detail. I took this out when I put that map. So by me going here and then I can click add to map, it's going to keep that information unless I choose to remove it.
Okay, and you can add more information, like you were typing in, my favorite place.
Yes.
Go under the dot in the white space there.
Yep. So you can add here, visit here.
Perfect.
To watch the Dodgers. I don't,
That's fabulous.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So then you have all that detailed information. It's already there. You don't even have to come up with anything. And then if you really want to see, if they want to see how close Dodger Stadium is to where if they're staying at a hotel or somewhere, they can add their address. It will take them out to Google Maps and they can see how far to go, how far it is for them to use. So this will be great for you.
Yeah. Is there, I'm thinking there's also you have to have the link to like add points, but I can add as many points as I want and have directions and stuff for highlights.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, this is great. And then they see where things are instead of, like I said, in our phones, we just see that little tiny area. I mean, students don't, at least my own children didn't understand a bigger picture. You know, my daughter one time said, I'm lost. My husband said, well, where are you? By a McDonald's and a Michael's. Okay, in Houston. Okay, where in, you know, you could be 100 different places in the city with those two landmarks. So. Yes, that was good. I'm glad you brought that up, Carrie, about the bandwidth of mapping, and that is the downside for sure. That's what's good about asynchronous. So when it is available, they don't have to do it right immediately. But I fully understand the lack of bandwidth.
This would be like good group work too, like outside of class.
Yes, absolutely. And again, being that it can be asynchronous, they don't have to be up there at the same time. So whatever works best. Oh, a question I don't know the answer to. Is there a limit to the location of the map? Oh, limit the location. I don't know that. I don't know the answer, unfortunately. That's a good idea too, Carrie, is to bring others, just collect information. And, you know, and I always love group assignments, and I would always have, you know, roles identified and clearly defined for my students, what they did. So, yep, absolutely. Oh, okay. So Carrie, I just Googled the instructions on, you can limit areas in Google Maps. You go to add or edit map and scroll down to limit panning settings. I have never done that, so I love learning something new. I am just going to copy and paste this information. I'll put this in the chat. There you go. And I'm going to actually add it to my site too. So I'll put need to limit. No, I love learning. I always learn every single presentation. I'm always learning something more. So that makes it so much nicer. You know, you don't want to be stagnant in your ways. You want to be able to get that and learn every time. It's awesome. So I'm going to actually put that in here right now because that is a very good question. So. Yes, great job, Carrie. Loving tipping that imaginary hat.
We have just a couple more minutes.
Okay, so if y'all have any more questions, now's the time to ask. I'm going to put good to know for this. You will see it when you refresh your page. Oh yes, please do your
Session evaluation.
session evaluation.
Oh, did I spell it? Oh, I didn't spell it all the way. I get,
Oh,
sorry, I'm getting lazy in the Friday afternoon.
I know. I don't
No.
blame you.
Session evaluation. Thank you.
Why isn't this going in where I want it?
In the 1 minute we have left, can you scroll back up, or I'm not sure which tab that was on. You were talking about doing scavenger hunts.
Yes. Yes.
How would you do that?
So how I have it here is go in there. I'm just giving you something to do and practice. So you could either, I was leaving it up to you to start the map for this particular thing, but if you want to already have a map designed, you could also do it where you already have locations placed in there that they have to go do something at those locations as well. So you could also put in like San Francisco, and you could say, find something unique to San Francisco where they would have to then add the Golden Gate Bridge or, a cable car, or so you could have them already have pre-assigned places and then they add things to it if you'd like. This way I put it in here is what just giving some choices and more practice. But in a curriculum way, I would put some stuff in there and have them do it on the map on their layer.
Okay, so they would add their own pins to something.
Yes. Yeah, you could have them do that. Yes, like find 5 cities over 5 million people or something, whatever you're asking them to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really just unlimited what they can do. And you're going to find students that just gravitate toward this, that they had no idea they would even like this kind of thing. At least I found that with my own students. They go, oh, wow. I mean, they just felt so accomplished in knowing about maps. Any other questions? I am still trying to get this in the right area and update it with a good to know. I'm so excited that I now know that myself.
Well, thank you. We're at the end of our time today, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Cyndy, did you have any closing words?
No, just thank everyone for showing up on a Friday afternoon. My contact information is on the front page, so please email me. If you find some great ideas you want me to share the next time I do this presentation, please let me know. I always enjoy learning, as I said, so thank y'all so much. Have a great rest of your conference. I know I'm going to a session here shortly and then do the final Kahoot quiz. And thank y'all for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Be sure to fill out your evaluations. It helps us on our next year's planning as well. So thank you all for being here. Take care.
Yes, thank you.